Oh, hey, Adam.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, very good, thank you. Very good.
So, let's say I kick it off. How do you like your coffee in the morning?
So coffee in the morning, always black. I find myself a little bit of a coffee snob. Like to grind the beans myself. Don't like to mix it with too much. So very rarely I'll have any like flavorings or milk. So straight black coffee, freshly ground is spot on.
I love it. Gone straight in for the hardcore. Now, for the I think I sit more on your scale of coffee. I do appreciate the difference in the quality of coffee, and then having it, then being have that ability to have it pure. What is it that you like about the ground coffee that just makes your coffee that great?
Well, the obvious one would be taste, but I always feel like no matter other than freeze dried coffee, I can't distinguish taste too well with like the freshly ground stuff. I think it's just a process of making it. I enjoy kind of the grinding, the tamping, all of that kind of stuff. Um, Rather than just sticking some freeze dry stuff in a cup and filling it
Yeah.
with water. There's a little bit more to it, and I think it's that plus the smell. Freshly ground coffee
Mhm.
in the morning is a fantastic smell. So
Now, not to
yeah,
give it
all of those.
a spoiler on sort of today's podcast, but we are going to get into healthy habits, and we're going to be getting into routines, and we're going to for business, and I think that's a nice little sort of inkling. Before we sort of dive in, do you want to just go and say really shortly, who are you and what is it that you do and why do you do it?
Yeah. So obviously, my name's Adam. I am an online coach, online health coach, specifically for business leaders. So we're talking like CEOs, managing directors. Um, the reason I do it is because I've kind of gone through that health journey myself, and I've kind of had those struggles in my past. I am a business leader in itself, in that I kind of own my business. And my experience has kind of led me to realize that business leaders in particular kind of don't prioritize their health as much as they do like time in the office and things like that. And it can have a detrimental effect on the results that they get within their work. So yeah, that's essentially
What
what I do.
was it about your experience that really led you to wanting to solve this problem for other people?
So I would say there are a couple. The first one is purely from kind of like a vanity standpoint, I guess. But where I've always been identified as like a sporty person, played a number of sports when I was younger. But when I left university, as a lot of people do, they'd been drinking a lot, and I found myself in a position that I didn't recognize myself anymore. And that kind of alongside doing a sport degree and not knowing how to kind of change my health for the better was an alarming point. But kind of led me on a very long journey, like 7+ years of trying to figure it out on my own and kind of doing things that don't work. Which actually led me, funnily enough, to CrossFit. CrossFit was kind of the turning point for me because it incorporated the competition, which I missed from playing sport,
Yeah.
and it gave me that community element, which is always a strange one given I'm an introvert. But
Yeah.
that community of kind of like-minded people pushing you is something that I kind of heavily value. And then it just kind of all kind of came to a boiling point when, as a coach, I got injured. So I used to be in person, and the injury required surgery. So
Mm.
not only could I not work in person with my clients, I couldn't train anymore. And I was limited to what I could do from like a nutrition standpoint. I couldn't really cook well for myself.
Mm.
And as a business leader perspective,
Mm.
when I was kind of in that rehab phase and I couldn't do the exercise, couldn't kind of stay
Mm.
on top of my kind of sleeping habits, my nutrition habits, I just felt my energy go. And I
Mm.
wasn't running my business as effectively or as efficiently as I was previously. And it was kind of
Mm.
all of those different points that kind of came together into
Mm.
this single focus.
I completely resonate with that story. Myself was also on crutches over a good 12 months, and this was pre-COVID. For me as a business, post-COVID, if I had been on crutches, it would have been no impact on the business. But pre-COVID, it certainly put a huge risk on the business. And what you've just talked about again is, as a business owner, if you do, we're not even talking falling sick here, really a serious sickness. We're talking just, a maybe a broken leg, or torn ligaments or tendons, whatever that kind of takes you out of full capacity.
Yeah.
What that has on the bottom line, like you said, you were demotivated, you were just not fully in the business anymore, you couldn't even perform all the job as you probably would have loved to, and that does have an effect on the bottom line. So it just, only until business owners, leaders have that experience that they go, oh, okay, my health really does matter here if I want to keep on following my passion, for being motivated, improving, the goals. And what you're doing, is really, really, really valuable. Now, is there do you have any top tips for business owners? Because exactly what you said. I did exactly the same thing as you. I'd come out of sports, kind of got to the third year uni. The ratio of drinking to exercise, the balance was slightly off, as all 21-year-olds do. And then that's how I found CrossFit. I was like, I was writing my dissertation. I was like, I need to talk to people. I need to do some regular exercise that doesn't involve drinking. And and that's we both found the sport for the same reasons. And CrossFit isn't for everybody. I do say that as the biggest advocate for it. It's not for everybody. But what would be some of your top tips for business owners to start on their health journey, their focus to being, looking after themselves? Like you've been through this journey of going from a sports degree to working out what's good, what's bad. We're talking about, there is so much misinformation online on social media, and it can be quite overwhelming. So what are your top tips for business leaders?
Yeah, so the first one I think would always be a shift in mindset, particularly around health. And I've been guilty of this. Like, a big focus is often about weight, it's about clothing sizes and all that kind of stuff. It had been my focus for a long time. I will say that in the past I've worked with clients with that sort of focus, and recently I have pivoted towards health, more so in terms of, rather than focusing on what your body has got to lose, focus on what your body can do and improving what it can do. Because I think, especially when we look at what we need to lose from like a weight or a fat perspective, we often see the journey as quite difficult, quite daunting. Whereas if we kind of flip it and celebrate what we can do right now, which might not be as much as we maybe did when we were 10 years younger, but if we can like celebrate what we can do and work on improving that, I feel like it's a more positive journey. And then once you kind of flip that from a negative to a positive with regards to your health, we want to focus on it more. So rather than say, oh, I've got all that to lose, it's like, oh, I can do this, but I could do more, and it is more exciting. So I'd say that mindset shift is the first one.
And just on that, because there's so much in there that I'd love to just explore a bit more further, because what we're talking here is the infinite game. Growing a business, there's no end point at all. Like, literally, you grow a business and it will keep growing. It's infinite. And your health, you've got 4,000 weeks until you're 80. Admittedly, it is a little bit more finite, but that's a very long time in the perspective, and you might as well treat it as the infinite game, because you don't know when that is going to stop. So I love how you're just bringing out, well, what can we do now, and what successes can we focus on now? So not trying to do all of it all in one go. You're going, okay, let's do these little bits, let's win these little bits, feel good about winning bit, and then go, okay, what's next? What's the next bit we can feel good about? Then what's the next thing that we can feel good about? And just those little increments that, like you said, love the sort of the mind precept. So that's point number one. Like, that's a big one. That's a great one.
Yeah, well, the second one actually segues quite nicely off what you just said, in that the second one would be kind of start small and build it up. I think a lot of the barriers, especially for business leaders, because of kind of their workload and all that kind of stuff, is time and finding the time to fit things in. And a lot of the reasons that they perceive time as a barrier is because they've seen online that, you've got to do 5 sessions a week, or if want to do an effective gym session, it's 60 minutes.
You have to get up at 5 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah. or you like just get up earlier is another one that I just hate to see. And at the end of the day, to overcome kind of like time barriers or any other sort of barriers is to make it fit that individual's lifestyle. Like their commitments are individual to them, as their health kind of routine should be. So identify kind of small gaps of 5-10 minutes where you could do something, because something, I know it's a cliche, but something is better than nothing. And whether that's 5 minutes to go for a walk, a 10-minute hit session in your house, in your living room, or even 5-10 minutes focusing on things like what's your meal plan for the week. So just kind of get some kind of nutrition elements in there. And then once they become easy, just add a little bit on. Because it's a lot of people try and go straight in, 5 sessions a week, 60 minutes, plus all the meal prep, and just find themselves kind of overwhelmed with it. And either they're not giving everything or giving 100% in that area, because obviously they're trying to do this around a hectic work schedule, or they find other aspects like social life or time with family dropping off, and that's not something they want either. So
I completely agree, because this is there's two big things in here we're really talking about, and one is your habits, and the book I always recommend is the famous one, Atomic Habits. It's
I love
just
that book.
incredible. It just really just breaks it down in such an easy way to sort of absorb it and implement it. So that's the first one. But what you're saying about people trying to change all of their habits all in one go, well, we know as business owners that if you try and change everything in your organization at each department, and then you constantly repeat the change, you get what's called change fatigue. And so if you put it into the business perspective, business landscape, if you're let's say you've got an employee in each department, and you change something every single week for every different person, at some point people are going to get frustrated, they're going to get angry, because you're like, why are you changing it again? Why are you changing it? You can hear them just getting angry and frustrated. And that's exactly what you're saying. If we just think, oh, well, if I just change my whole life, I'll suddenly start training 14 times a week. I'll suddenly eat leafy greens all day, and I'll drink 2 gallons of water, and you're trying to do it all at once. That's too much. I'm already exhausted just talking about it,
It just doesn't work that way. And a lot of people think to kind of have that result. I think the big issue is we as humans want that result. We want it quick, and the quickest way to get the result is change it all in one go. But the perceived mindset is the quickest way is to change it all in one go. But typically, you're either going to do too much and not be able to sustain it once you get the result, or it's going to be so much that you never get to the result in the first place. So it works out taking longer.
Absolutely. And was there a third point that business leaders could sort of take away from today?
I did have one. I thought of one, and then we got onto the Atomic Habits, and got distracted. But I think for the time being, that it is probably those two. Like I say, the mindset.
I agree.
I did think of a third. Enjoyment, I think, is quite often overlooked with regards to kind of like our health. And I guess this is maybe going against the grain a little bit, because you'll see like so many coaches online, and I understand why they do this, but they'll focus on like, even if you don't enjoy resistance training, for example, like do it, because it is the quickest way for like a weight or fat loss result, and it's the quickest way to get a sustainable result. And they'll say, even if you don't enjoy it, do it. And I get that, but quite often the advice will be as much as possible. Whereas I like to kind of tell people to focus on kind of the majority of being what they want, and then the minority being what they need. Because if we just said do everything that you want, yeah, okay, some of the times what you want is to do nothing, which isn't going to help. But we want a lot of the wants in there, the enjoyment, because that's what's going to lead to consistency. If you enjoy doing it, you're going to do it more often. If you do it more often, you'll get your result. So it's just kind of treading that line between saying, okay, we are going to need some of these things, i.e. like the resistance training, but we basically find a way of making it work in your lifestyle so it kind of creates as little friction as possible with regards to like the enjoyment factor, and then everything else, do what you enjoy. Because the combination of the two is better than just doing what you want, which might be nothing, or doing what you need and getting bored of it and giving up.
I love that you brought this point, because I don't think it does get discussed enough. There is a huge amount of narrative on my social media at the moment from these gurus, where it's like, you must do the hard thing, you must, I'm talking like sort of David Goggins is kind of famous for this, like you must really go hard. And I completely agree with what they're saying and their sentiment, but I do, like you said, sometimes there just needs to be a little asterisk next to these little voice snippets. And so the strapline for today's the podcast Charleh with Friends, and the company that does, my company that does bring this podcast, Vision to Success, is it's really hard to beat somebody who's having fun. That's our strapline, because my ethos is, I believe if you're going to grow a business, you've got to have fun doing it. I'm doing this podcast because to me this is fun. I love it. But what you've really beautifully said is, it doesn't take away that sometimes even if you're having fun, it's going to be hard, and it is going to be difficult, and there are going to be challenges. But it means so I'll use CrossFit as an example. So I've been doing CrossFit 8 years now. Do the quick mental math. Too long. And still 7-8 years in, there is definitely some stuff I really do not like. I don't like burpees. I don't like the assault bike. I don't like honestly, there's long thrusters. Thank you. I was like, yeah, I don't like doing these things, but if I know there's a workout that I don't like doing, and I was like, I know I need to get it done because it's going to head towards my goal, but the point of me doing CrossFit is to have enjoyment and fun, and it's my hobby. I always go to my training partner. That was the big thing for me, is I started training with a training partner about a couple of years ago, and I'll go to him and be like, look, we've got to get this workout done. We're going to do it together because it's more fun if we do this together, But that's my strategy. That's personal to me, that I've worked so that it's like, I'm still going towards my goal, but I'm keeping to that value, that enjoyment. And there'll be days where I just go, nope, we're not doing any exercise today. We're going home because that's more fun.
Yeah.
But we can contextualize it a bit. So I think that's a really good point. Now, if there was endless resources in the world, we'll get to do some a bit of imaginary here. Endless resources in the world, and you had endless resources. What's the one thing that you would love to do to help, business leaders with their health?
Oh, crikey. I guess there are a couple of options, but if we were to pick one, it would be offering their education company-wide. Because as much as like I focus on business leaders, obviously a healthy workforce is going to be beneficial to the business as well. And I don't think it can be understated how kind of muddled online health and fitness is. So being able to kind of go directly into like as many businesses as possible to give that kind of top-down education and talk with the CEOs, the managing directors, and alongside the workforce, and kind of implement, I guess, company-wide strategies that help with kind of the education around health, because I think it is that empowerment to the knowledge and how to implement it that helps people have that sustainability, rather than just being told do this for X amount of time and being left on their own after that. But yeah, kind of having that total kind of free reign to give that education out top down, and kind of essentially spread the word that it doesn't need to be complex. It doesn't need to be kind of difficult from like a personal perspective. It's not necessarily easy, but it can be simple. The process can be simple if you know what you're doing and you've been kind of taught how to sustain it for you as an individual.
Yeah, because I think I'm full of bigger support of that idea, because I think that is definitely something. These let's talk about these bigger organizations should prioritize that. It's not just the business leaders, it is the workforce as a whole. And what I liked is like you saying about like, let's put strategies in place to continuously work with with the whole company wide, because I always think of health, your own personal health is like brushing your teeth, for example. If you never brush your teeth every single day, and you only went to the dentist once every 5 years or once every 10 years, like you would maybe a doctor for your health, your teeth would be in such a state that they'd just probably take them all out and replace them. And that, whereas because that you need to just brush your teeth twice a day, you go to the dentist, they look at your teeth and they go, yeah, great, keep going. But because we've learned that from a young age, it's just that habits, that's already kind of inbuilt. And it's so coincidental that you've mentioned that today. I got a friend sent me their health check report that got to sent them by their company, and it was again from I'm not going to name any names because it was a large insurance firm, and they're still putting out information about. So they're saying they're doing like a checkup, and they're saying, oh, what's your BMI? They're still doing the health check. They're still doing the health checks and the BMI. Now, I'll just put into context for people. So if I'm 168 centimeters, so it's 5'7", and I weigh I weigh about 64 kilograms, which is about 63 pounds.
I tend to work in kilos, so I wouldn't know with pounds.
Yeah, I'm trying to convert for different audiences. So it's about 100. So I'm 168 centimeters, 163 pounds, so 74 kilograms. You would put me on that BMI scale as overweight, and as overweight, like tipping onto the obese scale. But what you don't know is actually I'm on 15% body fat, with about 56 kilograms of that is muscle. And it. Just by me adding 2 extra different metrics, because I do this for myself, these extra 2 metrics, suddenly my health checker looks completely different. But unfortunately, not everybody has that information, and this is you can see the pain I'm feeling, because I know exactly where you're coming from, your value value that you're adding to business leaders, and what they could be doing. So I think your 3 top tips for them are really, really good places to start. Now we've not spoken to how long have you been in business for so far?
So officially as a coach, we are closing on 3 years. So it was August of 2020. So kind of making this decision during lockdown. One of the big reasons being like my previous work was very inflexible, shall we say, in terms of time. And as I was getting older, I kind of wanted to have that control back. So yeah, kind of been overall a coach predominantly in person for just coming up to 3 years. But I made the transition to kind of fully online January of this year, partly as a result of the injury, to be honest. I've just found that the kind of lifestyle suited me better. So yeah, kind of we'll call it 3 years, but technically also only 6 months in this kind of frame.
Well, honestly, congratulations. You just starting a business is far more daunting than people probably envisage, because a lot of people go, "Oh, start a business," but then it's saying it and doing it, two different things, and even you said wants to come on today. This is you just constantly trying to push yourself, that growth mindset. Now, what has over the last sort of 3 years, and even just experiences from your past, what have been fails, what at the time I should say felt like a fail, but really was a really big blessing in disguise?
Yeah, I'd say one of the big ones is having got myself to a position where I was kind of one of the worst words possible. I was comfortable. I'd kind of built things up to kind of having the amount of clients I wanted in person, the income I wanted from it, and it was spot on. And there were things that I could have done to expand, and I didn't, because I was like, well, I think things are good right now. So I kind of stopped lead generation. I stopped kind of service improvements, and eventually things like clients dropped off. Some because it was just naturally at their end. Others because I'd got comfortable and I wasn't putting as much into like the retention side of things as I should have. And then it felt like all of a sudden I was almost back where I started.
Yeah.
And for me that felt like a failure, because I was like, well, I've got here. Why have I not been able to sustain it? But again, I think as with everything, it comes to how you can frame things. And I'll not lie, I felt a bit sorry for myself for a little while, because it did feel like failure. But it made me realise that actually I've been neglecting a lot of things, specifically kind of working on the service that I was given and working on kind of communication with clients. So because of that, I put a lot more time into service improvement. So because of that, my service is better. Because of that, my communication is better, and my understanding of a number of different topics that I maybe didn't know at the time has got better. And it's just down to kind of either looking at it as a failure or looking at it as an opportunity to learn how you can improve, but importantly, make sure you implement those improvements.
And you are, first and foremost, you're not alone in that experience, because you, like you said, gosh, it is it's actually a psychological study, this. I can't remember the name, as always, but you start doing the growth, you start feeling the successes, you get to that peak, you then get comfortable and you go, oh, I'm winning here, like you said, and you fall into that fallacy. And then suddenly it all, like you said, it all it's going wrong. The things feel like clients are all leaving, but every single business has that turnover. That is just a part of business, and both are very, very measurable. As businesses get larger, you end up looking at what is your leading and your lagging reports to see, well, what is my average customer cycle? So if they, on average, they work with you for either 6 months or 2 years, and they're consistently working that amount, well, you can then step back, like you said, look at it as an opportunity and go, okay, if I know clients on average stick with me for 6 months, in order to just maintain my business, I need 1 new client a month. If I want to grow, I need 2. And if I really, really want to grow and get aggressive, then I need 3 a month. But like you've just very much highlighted, it's all very well and good going for this aggressive growth because it's sexy, it's cool, it's attractive. But then if that service level drops, well, it's always a balance, because if you go aggressively that way and then you're not doing your retention, you're not looking after your clients, well, that's equally going to drop off as well. And actually, you're still just hitting the middle. So you were better off going for that one or two new clients a month, because that would have been far more maintainable and
Yeah,
sustainable. And
absolutely.
we're going back to this narrative, the parallels between looking after your health and what you can learn by looking after your health to looking after the health of the business
Yeah,
are, very much one and one. So I think, like you said, that is a huge blessing in disguise, and I love that you've also come out and said, right, this is an opportunity, because that's I do exactly the same thing, and now I've been self-employed now for about 12 years.
okay.
Um, is when something goes wrong, I go, right. Literally breathe, I stop it and go, what's the opportunity here? What is the lesson I
Yeah,
need to learn? Sit and write down that lesson, mull over it, think about it, feel sorry for myself a little bit. I
yeah,
will be honest. Me making myself feel better is I'll go and do some heavy cleans in the gym. And then I feel better about myself, and I'm like, okay, I can now relook at this opportunity and go, right, what are my next steps? What do I need to do? So this doesn't happen again. No, it does happen again, but it doesn't happen as dramatic. That you
yeah,
minimize that impact that it has, because and then the next time it happens again, it's like it's just a blip. It didn't even happen because it's not even the same problem
yeah.
anymore. Now, what is we've talked very much about how you really help business leaders and their health. Is there something that a business leader can buy from you that is under £100 that would add a ton of value for their life?
Yeah, so under £100, £100 is my power hour blueprint. So it is a one-to-one call with myself without the intention of selling, because I hate those calls that say they're going to help and then it's just, oh, are you the right fit for my business? So obviously the point is focusing on what the barriers that business leaders are facing specifically to them is, and then creating 1 to 3 action points that they take away. The end goal is they have the 1 to 3 points that are going to suit them and their lifestyle based on the information that I get from them, that they can implement and start seeing results. Realistically, if they implement them within like the first 4 weeks. And essentially, my aim is just to kind of try and help as many people as possible by giving them information that they might not already have or even have, but just aren't sure how to kind of implement from that point of view. And then, as I say, from there, it's always a case of kind of give as much value as possible. And then if people decide they want the one-to-one element and the one-to-one course afterwards, then there's already that trust built up. But yeah, it's the £99 power hour blueprint.
Love it. So they can go to your website, or they can contact you on LinkedIn, sign up for a power hour for 99 pounds, and they will get some tactics that they can start working on that's personal to them. Like you said, those first 4 weeks, those 30 days are always really, really crucial. I totally agree with you on that. And even if you just did that, I completely would see how that would change their lives. Just getting 8 hours of sleep a day, maybe, or just having extra bit of water every day might really
Yeah,
help the mindset of a business owner. So
yeah.
thank you so much, Adam, for coming on to today's podcast. It's
I
been an
appreciate
absolute
having me.
pleasure to have you, and I hope to see you soon.
Yes, thank you very much for having me.